but what the hey? Let's give it a go. Okay. All right. I'm gonna start with an overview. I'm gonna do the disadvantage and then the case in order. Okay. So these are gonna be the reasons to vote. Here we go. First thing I want to talk about is the stuff I put up on top. The timeline in this debate is uniquely important because not only must the affirmative solve, but they have to solve it within a timeline within the point of no return that we've been talking about. According to his evidence, that's 2035, and I'm going to hold him to it. Secondly, he says that I'll deal with the Scientific American answers in advantage one. Secondly, he says that we must have, like, because I didn't propose a counter plan, then you vote for him in this try or die scenario. He said this toward the end of his speech. I got a few responses to this. First off, my disadvantage is winning, and if that wins, I win. Secondly, if he has no solvency for either one of his advantages, you vote on negative on presumption. That is a pretty well-established debate theory. You don't reward somebody for proposing an argument and going, might as well try it. Okay, let's go on to the disadvantage. So the first thing is, he says that this is a turn, all right? So he only has one response. If I take out this response, then I should win on the disadvantage. Secondly, this is not a turn. He never said that the affirmative is, he never argued once that this would decrease nuclear proliferation, okay? He just said it won't raise it at all that much. Third, he conceded that enemy states can weaponize the fuel coming out of thorium reactors, molten salt reactors. This is a major concession. Fourth, his scientific American evidence calls for the entire world to switch over to nuclear energy. That would include some enemy states. So he's in this double bind. Either he solves the problems by converting all of our fossil fuels to nuclear energy, but when he does that, he's including enemy states and they can weaponize it, okay? There's no in between. So either he doesn't solve or he has nuclear proliferation. Either way, he's losing. Fifth, regulation will not work. There is no governing body for global nuclear inspectors, at least not one that's always recognized. People are pulling out of agreements like the United States with Iran. And so, like, we are going in the wrong direction on an international relations scope, okay? All of these arguments take out this supposed link turn that wasn't a link turn. He was just mitigating the disadvantage. Why is that important? That's important because now you look to the impacts. And if the impacts outweigh case, you vote for this disadvantage because proliferation is worse than the stuff he talks about on case. There's two reasons why the impacts are more important. First off, nuclear proliferation is more immediate. We can go and weapons can be launched at any time and it causes an immediate climate change, as well as the deaths of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Secondly, it's a higher magnitude because at least with climate change, you're not poisoning the planet for the other organisms that live there. Radioactive material isn't bad just for humans. It's also bad for all the other living organisms as well. Whereas in climate change, at least maybe they might be able to adapt. So this disadvantage by itself is winning the round, but let's go on to advantage one. First, let's answer his defeatism argument. Climate change is not going to be solved by wishful thinking and rash decisions based on try or die reasoning. We need to be honest, and honestly, we are past the point of no return. Let's take a look at the Oxford and Utrecht evidence. First, I did a close reading of the evidence that he presented, and one thing that they said is we have already guaranteed a 1.5 degree increase, no matter what we do. That's in the evidence right there. What they're trying to do is prevent it going over 2 degrees increase. Secondly, the researchers said that those modest proposals that the affirmative was talking about, even those are ambitious. They're only modest compared to the things that we need to do. Third, at best, even if we do these ambitious goals or meet these ambitious goals, there's only a 67% chance that this will solve. Not incredibly great, especially consider there's no way that we're ever going to meet those high standards. Let's move on to Scientific American evidence. This is the one saying that if we try really hard, that we can transfer all of our energy sources to nuclear within 30 years. My first response is 30 years still puts us 15 years past the point of no return. Remember, that was 2035. We're in 2019 right now, okay? If we follow that, even under the best circumstances, we're 15 years too late, according to the affirmative's evidence. Secondly, this only gets us near our goals, even if we convert all of our nuclear energy. According to his own evidence, it says we get near the goals that we need to be. And third, that's only if we transfer all of our fossil fuel energy sources to nuclear. That doesn't even count like people who just decide not to because they think that climate change is a hoax. The last thing I want to point out on this one answer is that he dropped the transportation argument. Not only do we need to convert our energy sources, we need to transfer the fuel sources for our transportation. Cars, planes, trains. These things aren't part of his plan. He doesn't solve for it. Advantage 1 has no solvency whatsoever. He doesn't get part of it. He gets 0. Let's deal with the airplane analogy really quick before I move on. First, analogies are the weakest form of argument because I could find an analogy that goes the other direction. For instance, the Postmaster General in 1955 predicted that mail would be delivered by rockets. That never happened. Alex Lute, he was a president of a vacuum cleaner company in 1955, said that there would be nuclear-powered vacuum cleaners. That never happened. See, people make overblown predictions all the time about how beneficial technology is going to be. But if you don't like it, throw both of them out. All right, 30 seconds left for advantage 2. He dropped all of the health and environmental impacts that I talked about, how fluoride, especially when it gets vaporized, is deadly, and that mining creates bioaccumulation and radioactive poisoning. Lastly, on India, he says this is just exaggerated. Well, his instability on OPEC is exaggerated. You never know when the next chapter is going to be the last chapter. And lastly, he said that they have free markets. My answer is that even capitalist countries are unstable and go to war. There is no guarantee that the prices are going to be stable throughout. They are subject to market prices and supply and demand, just like anything else. There is no guarantee. Look to my evidence about India turning to a theocracy. My point is not that India is better or worse than OPEC. It's just that neither one is that much better. The thing that's worse is proliferation. That's what we need to avoid, okay? And the only way to avoid that is to vote against the affirmative.